Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce. Chapter 10. 2 Keys and a Locked Cage, Part 2. Ozzy, Albert, and the ghost of Jason Lee Scott all stared at the random girl that stood before them. I'm sorry, who are you? Ozzy asked.
Monica, I'm here to help.
The girl replied. Okay, Monica, and who says you can help? Albert said sternly. Monica pulled out a Super Mega Morpher and the yellow Super Megaforce Ranger key. There's other morphers? Ozzy gasped. Albert turned to Jason. You want to explain this one? Albert sighed.
We made sure there was only 4 morphers. We only banked on one of them being used. We had help, a morphing master. Ozzy met him, and I'm assuming Monica here also met him.
Jason explained.
Yes, I did meet him. He gave me the morpher.
Monica stated. Wait, hang on a minute. Whoa. There are 4 morphers now? Ozzy questioned.
There are, yes. 1 for male, 1 for female, 1 for the 6th Ranger keys, and 1 too powerful, so we locked it away.
Jason told them. We'll have this conversation later. Right now we have work to do. Monica, if you are here to help, then we will take it. There's a powerful monster that we just accidentally unleashed. We need to take it down, Albert stated.
I'm in.
Monica nodded. Then the 4 of them chased after the monster. They reached an old graveyard. The tombstones were broken and faded. No words could be read. The monster stood there growling. The trio ducked down and hid from sight, keeping an eye on the monster as it stared at a gravestone.
What's it doing?
Monica asked. I dunno, but I say we have to jump on him. Ozzy sighed. Ozzy, you are the team leader, so I say if you want to jump on him, then we do it. Albert nodded. Ozzy nodded back, then the trio jumped over the headstone and rushed at the monster. Took you long enough, the monster growled. He spun around and its dreadlocked-like hair moved like snakes and whipped around and caused the trio to halt. You ready? Ozzy asked, handing Monica the new yellow Mighty Morphin Yellow Ranger key.
Yeah, you bet.
Monica nodded as she took the key. Both of them stood forward and flipped open their morphers. They then held out their new keys and flipped them open. They slotted the keys inside and turned them. Then they both morphed into the red and yellow Super Megaforce Rangers. Super Megaforce Red, the Red Ranger called out.
Super Megaforce Yellow,
the Yellow Ranger called out. Albert held up his hand and his ring started to glow. His weapon circle appeared around him and he placed his hand in it and pulled out the turbo axe. Then the 3 ran at the monster. The monster dodged a punch from the Red Ranger, then he kicked the Yellow Ranger in the chest, sending her flying off her feet. Albert swung his axe at the monster and struck it. He swung again, but the monster's living hair snagged Albert and hung him upside down, causing him to drop his axe, and it disappeared in a flash of light.
This isn't working,
the Yellow Ranger grunted. Okay, let's try the new ones out, the Red Ranger nodded, holding up his new key. Both Rangers flipped open their morphers and held out their new keys. Legendary Ranger mode, the Red Ranger called out. Their keys flipped open and they both slotted the keys into the morphers and turned them. Then in a flash of light they stood before the monster. They were now the yellow Mighty Morphin Ranger and the red Mighty Morphin Ranger. Mighty Morphin Red Ranger, ready to stop you, the Red Ranger called out with his power sword in hand as he dropped down into his fighting position.
Mighty Morphin Yellow Ranger, here to help,
the Yellow Ranger called out as she spun her power daggers in her hand. Both Rangers ran at the monster. The Red Ranger slid across the ground, dodging the hair tendrils as they pierced the ground behind him. He then jumped to his feet and slashed the monster several times. The Yellow Ranger ran in and jumped up high. She swung her daggers and slashed the hair, cutting them. Then she jumped up and threw one of her daggers, snagging the hair that kept Albert afloat, freeing him. He fell to the ground but quickly jumped to his feet and summoned the Power Lance and joined in the fight. All 3 of them took turns slicing the monster and defending themselves from the living hair. Then the Red Ranger and Yellow Ranger simultaneously slashed the monster. The monster fell, sparks exploded off him, then the monster phased away, leaving a human man laying in place. The Rangers demorphed and Albert's weapon was thrown back into the morphing grid arsenal. He was human? Ozzy asked. Albert knelt down and checked his pulse. It's faint, but it's there, Albert stated. Then Albert and Ozzy carried the man back to town and placed him before the church, where the villagers surrounded him. They all gasped in shock. Ozzy and Monica hung back whilst Albert talked to the villagers. Nice job back there, Ozzy told Monica.
Thanks. I'm glad I was able to help.
Monica replied. Albert walked back up to the duo. So turns out the guy he bought his way into the Armada, and they turned him into that monster as payback. These people didn't know what to do, so they caged him up once they knew that the keys would hold him in place, prisoning him. Albert told them. Man, that's rough, Ozzy sighed.
When they first settled, they tried to do a lot with humans. Just ended up enslaving them instead.
Jason stated. Albert opened the portal and gestured everyone to walk through it. They all returned home and the portal closed behind them.
Interesting place. I dig it.
Monica chuckled as she looked around. Hey, before we settle in, you have to answer some questions, Albert stated.
Sure. What's up?
Monica asked back. Albert pulled out a piece of paper and unfolded it, and it showed Monica and Ozzy. It was a wanted poster, Monica's picture on it. You're wanted by the Armada? Albert asked.
I was made by one of the higher-ups. When I got my morpher, I found out her plans. Her sick, evil plans, and I fought, and then I ran.
Monica explained. Albert looked over to Ozzy and the ghost of Jason.
Everyone has a past, man.
Jason shrugged. I was just wanted an explanation. Look, I got raised and trained to follow his lead, so that's what I'm gonna do, Albert said, pointing at Ozzy. Hey, she jumped in without hesitation. She's a good fighter, and she bumps up our key count. Not only that, but it would be good to have another set of hands on this, and also to have some backup just in case Albert can't help me here, Ozzy said with a grin. Albert walked up to Monica and tore up the wanted poster. Then he held out his hand. Welcome to the team, Albert nodded.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Monica grinned as she shook his hand. Then Ozzy walked over to the wall and placed his new key on the shelf. Monica walked over and added her keys to it as well. In front of them were the red and yellow Super Megaforce keys, the red and yellow Mighty Morphin keys, the blue Turbo Ranger key, the blue Mystic Force Ranger key, and the English Royal Britannia Ranger key. 7 keys so far, Ozzy said.
It's a good start.
Monica nodded. Let's get some food and some rest, and maybe tomorrow we can increase that number. Albert nodded.
So, Albert, your thoughts on our new recruit?
Jason asked Albert as he walked towards the kitchen area. She's good, and she's pretty smart. Ozzy trusts her. That's all I need to know. Albert sighed.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Jason muttered. Albert made food, and the trio ate together. They shared stories, getting to know one another. Then they slept. The next day they woke up and got ready to continue their fight against the Armada forces. Monica had officially joined the team.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the 3 Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by 3 cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Tai Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channel, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrostudios.com.